Hello and welcome to the What Women Want Today podcast. You might be asking yourself right about now, well, what do women want? I mean, we're pretty complex creatures, right? Well, I think we want it all, and I'm here to explore it with you. My name is Terry Kellums. I'm your host. Go grab your favorite beverage. I've already got my glass of wine, and let's get started. Hello and welcome to the What Women Want Today podcast. This is your host, Terry Kellums. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I want to talk to you about scarcity mentality. We'll discuss what it means, and I'll give you some ideas on how to move beyond it. A scarcity mindset is the belief that there is never enough. The belief that a person will always lack certain needs and desires. My earliest experiences with this came from my childhood. I grew up quite poor. My mom often worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. While my youngest sister's dad was capable, he just wasn't willing to work. That left my mom as the breadwinner with barely above minimum wage jobs. I was quite aware that we didn't have a lot of money. I knew not to be wasteful. I knew to take good care of my things because I might not have the chance to get more. I learned at Easter and Halloween when I got some candy, I needed to ration it because once it was gone, I probably wasn't going to get any more for a while. What I learned was scarcity. I grew up with these thoughts and I took them into adulthood with the ideas that I may not have what I need, much less what I desire. But this is only one type of scarcity. Thoughts and beliefs about money are very common and keep people stuck and saying things like, I could never afford that. I'll never make enough money. I wish I had the finances that Susie so-and-so has. In the workplace as a woman, you may have had an experience with a coworker who doesn't want to share her knowledge because she believes she's only valuable if she has more knowledge than you do, as if you can hoard knowledge so no one else can take it from you. Someone with a scarcity mindset may have ideas of starting their own business or even a side hustle, and then they say to themselves, all of the good ideas are already taken. I didn't get involved early enough and now the market is saturated. Success doesn't happen for people like me. Scarcity enters into our thoughts when we see someone else with what we want, as if someone else having it means we may not be able to have it. I could easily say to myself, with 2 million podcasts out there, there aren't enough listeners for me. Or I could say, so many people are joining the coaching profession, that means I won't have enough clients. Scarcity tells you there is a finite number of people that can write a book, be a successful entrepreneur, or have a successful career as a musician. In the marketplace, there is an idea that if there are limited quantities available, the thing becomes more valuable. For example, diamonds. There's a story about a man named Cecil Rhodes, and he created De Beers Mining Company. He bought up almost all of the diamonds across South Africa. He then worked with diamond distributors to stifle the supply, creating a scarcity, and the prices of diamonds soared. This scarcity sounds like, if I don't get one now, I may not be able to ever have a diamond. Another example has played out in the real estate market over the past, close to 6 months, 9 months, maybe a year. I know it has in Phoenix, and I'm sure other parts of the country. There was a lack of available housing on the market, which created increased desire, which created increased prices. People were moving from more expensive parts of the country and paying the higher price demand, which increased the feeling of scarcity. As prices soared, the scarcity sounded like there may not be an end in sight of these high prices. We should buy while we can still afford it. And while there is a lot of mindset going around about not having our physical and security needs met, the one that might surprise you or you don't think of much is time scarcity. And it sounds like this. I can't pursue my passions and purpose because I don't have enough time. I have too many responsibilities that take my time. I can't learn to play the piano, learn Spanish, or take that creative writing class.
This could very easily lead down a path that says, if only I didn't have to work this job, I would have so much free time to do this thing I want to do so badly. So let's challenge that for a minute, because I have a feeling that time scarcity is going to hit home for some. Let me tell you about Mary. When Mary first came to me for coaching, and by the way, I've changed her name and some of the details to protect her privacy, she was feeling quite unsatisfied with her life. Her nest is empty, and she worked in a job she was good at and paid decent, but it was becoming more and more mundane, and she felt like her life lacked meaning. Her marriage was happy, but they had fallen into a rut of the same old routines. She wanted something to make her feel fulfilled and purposeful. After a couple of sessions, she told me one day she really wanted to give up her full-time job and pursue teaching piano lessons. She told me when her children were younger, both her son and her daughter and herself had played piano, and she taught several of her friends' children as well. I was excited for her, and I asked her to tell me about her plans. She said there was no way she could really give it her full attention if she continued to work her 9 to 5. There simply weren't enough hours in a day. She had her husband's blessing, and she was going to begin immediately. Mary didn't schedule any sessions with me for several weeks, and I wondered how busy she must have gotten, so I reached out to her via email just to check in. She replied and explained to me after finishing her last 2 weeks at her job, she had joined a few groups on social media, which led her to taking some classes on how to market her business through LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. She was spending a lot of time trying to nurture relationships and had also started volunteering. When I inquired about scheduling her next session so she could tell me more detail, she said she would get back to me soon. After several months had passed without me hearing from Mary, she finally scheduled a session. I was so glad to hear from her, and I was looking forward to hearing all about her new students. During our session, the story was quite the opposite. She had been spending most of her time developing a website for her business, writing a business plan, organizing lessons, spending time on social media, and volunteering. She was frustrated because she felt like she didn't have enough time to take on more than one student a week, and she knew she would not replace her income from her job with only one student a week. Mary was more frustrated than ever. So what happened with Mary? She had convinced herself that all of her problems revolved around a lack of time. But when she gained more time, she just filled it up with busy work. She hadn't worked enough on changing her time scarcity mindset and diving into the underlying reasons for her feeling unfulfilled. Here are some questions you can ask yourself. Is it true? This thing that you want to do so badly, but you tell yourself you don't have time for, is it true that you don't have time for it? Let's decide how many hours a week it would take for you to do this thing. So let's say it's 5 to 10 hours a week. At the most, at the 10 hours a week, that's a little more than an hour and a half a day. And at the least 5 hours, that's less than 1 hour per day. So what fills your time every day? Have you really dived in to take a look? I have a friend recently that decided to write down everything she did all day long just to get an idea of where all of her time was going. So have you ever dived in to take a look at your own time habits? Are any of these things time wasters like TV or social media? Can any of these things be delegated, eliminated, hired out? What would having this thing mean for your life? And what are you willing to sacrifice to get it? How much of your scarcity is tied into your thoughts about it? Norman Vincent Peale is famously quoted as saying, "Change your thoughts and you change your world." So let's start eliminating some of the scarcity. Here's what needs to change. 7 things. Your thoughts and your mindset. Your words. your belief system, your actions, your excuses, your comparisons, and your companions. Let's start with your thoughts. Let's start exchanging some of those negative phrases we have for some positive affirmations. Your words, you need to be more mindful of how you speak when it comes to your scarcity thinking. Early on in my personal growth journey, someone challenged me to go a week without complaining. Do you know that was the quietest week of my life? I never realized how much I was complaining until I became more mindful of my words. I had some things in my life I was pretty unhappy about, but complaining about them was not helping. Your belief system. Do you believe people only get things they are deserving of? Think about that for a minute. Who decides who is deserving? And what about the flip side of the deserving meaning? Let it sink in. Have you ever behaved in a way you're not proud of? Did you get what you deserved for that behavior? Your actions. I will be the first to admit I can get distracted pretty easy. I have to be very careful about how I spend my time. As someone who works from home and loves a clean house, the choices I make about how I spend my time, they matter. I could easily get lost for hours in organizing and cleaning and realize I haven't done anything productive for my podcast or my administrative duties or bookkeeping. If you don't have hours to waste, make sure you're making the most of your time. Talking isn't the same as doing. Your excuses. So tomorrow becomes the day after, and then next week, and then next month. Today is your day. Let's get going. Your comparisons. It doesn't matter if so-and-so has an advantage. It's never a good use of your energy to compare where you are, where you've been, or where you're going with someone else's journey. Your company. This is a tough one, but who are you surrounding yourself with? What are they talking about? What limiting beliefs of yours are they consciously or unconsciously supporting? Hopefully this is an easy fix. I know I have a couple of friends who I can go to and say, I've been slacking. I really need to get back on track. And they are supportive. But if you have an inkling that misery loves company, it's time for new company. Okay, today's quote is from Brené Brown. We're never thin enough, extraordinary enough, or good enough until we decide that we are. She says, for me, the opposite of scarcity is not abundance, but enough. It's enough. I am enough. I just love that quote. Okay, our time together today has come to an end. Has listening in today helped you identify any scarcity in your life? Please feel free to reach out to me and continue the conversation. You can reach me on Instagram and Facebook or my email, and I'll put links to all three down in the show notes. And friends, remember, until next time, please remember to take good care of you. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. If you'd like to continue the conversation, come on over and join our private Facebook group, What Women Want Today. I'd love to hang out with you some more there. Any resources mentioned in today's episode will be in the show notes. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at What Women Want Today Podcast, or visit my website at whatwomenwanttoday.com. Please remember to subscribe, download, and share. Leave me a review. It helps other amazing women find the show and become a member of our community. One last thing for you today. You are not alone. You are worthy of love and a fulfilled life. Now it's time to go after it.